it's made us much more aware of like how hard parenting can be and how hard motherhood can be and like honoring that, but then also putting us in a place where it's like, oh shit, like how much am I fucking up? Like, how much am
Yeah,
I?
competitive motherhood in some
Yeah.
ways, you know?
Yeah.
Strangers with Kittens, Gen X stories from the least parented generation. Hey, I'm Eileen Kelly. Welcome to Strangers with Kittens. I'm really glad you're here on this Mother's Day edition of Strangers with Kittens. I feel like Mother's Day can be a tricky day for a lot of people. It seems maybe very straightforward, kind of Hallmark holiday in a lot of ways, but I went through 6.5 years of infertility before I was able to have kids. And I, in the midst of all that, also lost my mother to cancer. And so it can be a complicated and difficult day for a lot of women, for women who thought they'd be mothers and it didn't work out, for women who are mothers and are struggling, for those of us who've lost our mothers. Um, I just want to send out a big hug to all of you because it's not easy at this stage of the game, right? There's a lot of life that's happened to us and it affects days like this, and old wounds can reopen, and it can be complicated, and we get our cards and flowers and smile, and it is a really happy day for me in many ways, but it's complicated. You don't get to be this age and not have complex feelings about a lot of things because we've had a lot of experience. So I'm wishing all women who mother, which I think is just about every woman, a happy Mother's Day. My guest today is a millennial. I thought it would be interesting to talk to a millennial mom because I feel like there are things that we can learn from each other and things that different generations of moms do differently. But most of all, I want to talk to a younger mom because I feel like it's really important to support each other because motherhood isn't easy. It can be really, really challenging at times. And I don't think that's acknowledged often enough, at least not by our generation and the generations of women that have come before us. I think that we were pressured into pretending that it was the be all end all and that everything was awesome all the time. And I do feel like millennials and forward women are more honest about um, the complexities of motherhood. And they're not afraid to say, I'm having a really terrible day and I I don't feel like I'm cut out for this. And not be ashamed of it. I feel like there was so much shaming of mothers in the silent generation, the boomer generation, and maybe a little less so, but still Gen X. So I want to talk to a younger mom who I hope I've influenced. She used to babysit for my family and is now married and has children of her own and is a mom and an autism specialist. And I think a Gen X mom and a millennial mom have a lot to talk about. So let's get to it. Welcome, Audra Socinski. So we have a lot to talk about
I know.
on this Mother's Day, Strangers with Kittens episode.
Yeah. Happy early Mother's Day to you and
Happy
all those listening.
Happy early Mother's Day, my favorite day of the year. Uh, it really is. It's not like I ever do anything that big, but it was such
Yeah.
a long and bumpy road for me to get to motherhood that I could
Mhm.
just like doing nothing actually is pretty fantastic when you're a mother, but I could just do whatever and
Yep.
I'm happy because
Yeah.
every year I'm kind of like, as hard as motherhood is, I will say every year it makes me think like, wow, I thought for a long time I'd never be
Be a
here.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say it's quite fitting that you asked me to be on this one because even though, and I think I've told you this before, but I'm going to remind you that, you were the person that really taught me most about motherhood in my
Mhm.
adult 20 years. Like, obviously, I learned a bunch from my own mother growing up,
Right.
uh, her as my mom, but watching your kids and being with your kids as many years as I was, like, I that's when I learned the most about how to be a mom and watching you be a mom and then being like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna do that, not do this, all the things." And so I was like, "Oh, she's really the person that taught me the most about motherhood before I
Aw,
became a mom." So,
that's so sweet. Thank
yeah,
you.
you're
That
welcome.
means a lot.
Yeah, and I think a lot about that, like, those years of, quote, unquote, "raising kids" that aren't
Yeah.
my own, but still being in, like, the day-to-day with them. Although I
Yeah.
will say it was way easier with your kids than it is my
It's
kids.
always easier with someone else's kids than it is with your own.
So much
Mothers,
easier.
always remember that because sometimes it really feels like, especially if a friend or a relative watches your child and they're like, "Oh, they were so good and it was so easy and it was so whatever." And
Yep.
there's always that voice in the back of your head that's like, "What am I doing wrong? Why do I find it so difficult?
Yeah,
Why can't I find as much joy?" Because you do it 364 days out of the year and this person came, or maybe, maybe they come more often than that, but the dynamic's not the same,
totally.
you know, and it's not, and it's a treat for them. I remember
Yeah,
watching my nieces and nephews, and it was so much fun because I got to go home. Not that you don't wanna be with them, but it's like, I'm not there for the really tough
yeah,
times,
yeah. Well, you reminded me of that early on in motherhood when I think we were having this conversation, and I said, "Oh, it felt so much easier when I was with your 3," because was with your 3 kids alone
Mhm.
because I was the babysitter,
Right.
and, then I
I'd be
became a
working
mom.
upstairs
Yeah.
or yeah, usually I'd be up in the attic working.
Yeah, I became a mom, and I remember having this conversation with you, just being like, "I this feels so much harder than when I was with your 3 kids all the time," and you reminded me that I got to go home. Like, I got to go home at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then I was in a quiet apartment with just my boyfriend at the time, and I didn't have to do nighttime, and I didn't have to do bedtime, and it,
And
like.
you also it was like double, right? You didn't have to do those things, and you got to recover.
Mhm.
You got to have your own thoughts, you got to
Yep.
focus on yourself, you got to be like, "What do I wanna eat for dinner?" Instead of, like,
Yeah.
scrounging macaroni and cheese out of the bottom of the pot, like
And then eating whatever's left over that your kids didn't eat.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this
Totally.
weird combo of, like, "I'm so hungry, I'll eat anything," and, like, "Why am I gaining weight?" It's like because 'cause you're eating weird kid food that you don't even wanna eat.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how many chicken nuggets I eat a week, but happens every week. That was a big learning curve for me, was just because I came into motherhood at 31, almost 32 with, like, 22 years worth of watching other people's children. Because
Yeah,
back in the '90s,
including your siblings.
they let a 10-year-old watch, 4 kids at
Exactly.
10 years
I
old.
feel like I know you're an elder millennial,
I
but I
am.
really feel like you're a baby Gen Xer.
Well, I thought a lot about this, like, as I've been listening to your podcast from the beginning, is that, yes, I'm a elder or geriatric millennial, whichever one you wanna call it, but I am married to a Gen Xer who is later
Pull you
Gen.
down, no,
Yeah.
brings the darkness.
Yeah. He's 9 years older than me, so he was a very much a latchkey kid, Gen Xer, grew up in New Jersey just like you, so, like, whenever I listen to your stories, I'm like, "Yep, that was my
Mhm.
husband."
Brian and
But
I bond on these
yeah,
things.
but as an elder millennial, there is a lot of stuff that still holds true growing up in that kind of generation, and I think there's a big difference between a 1985 millennial versus I don't even know what it ends, 90, I don't whatever year, but, like,
80, yeah, 81 to
90 something?
96.
Oh, yeah, so, like, a 96.
Huge difference between you and
Oh,
someone that was born in 96.
totally different,
Yeah.
totally
Like, I
different.
feel like the cutoffs should be different. Like, I feel like we should rearrange it, and I feel like Gen X is actually a bigger generation than
Yeah.
most of the generations, and certainly the generations that came after, because that's when technology sped everything up. So
Yeah.
it's like, uh, being born long before the iPhone or growing up with the iPhone are two very different
Very
things.
different
Like, it
thing.
changed culture completely.
1000%.
So, we were talking a little bit before we started, and I understand that your parents are going to be moving across the street.
My parents are gonna be moving across the street. I'm gonna be in a Ray Romano situation right across the street. Which so I live on an 1840s farmhouse in Vermont with a bunch of land and a bunch of barns, which is absolutely wonderful. My
And
stepfather
beautiful.
owned it. Yeah, it's beautiful. My stepfather owned it in the 80s, and our house was always a rental. And so, when we thought about moving out of New Jersey and coming back up here, my husband's also from New Jersey.
Yay!
Yay, Jersey. We
Jersey!
said we wanted to buy this house from them eventually, and knowing that my stepfather had just took this beautiful, it's like a 200-year-old barn, and turned it into 2 apartments. So, we knew the plan was always that my parents, who just live across town, like maybe 10, 12 minutes away, were gonna sell that house because eventually, it's too big for them, and we're gonna move
Right.
into the barn right across the street. So, yeah, my parents will be right across the street. Which I think will be great in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and, then potentially just, like, maybe 2 goes for comfort, who knows? And they might feel that same way about us. The grandkids run across the street every day.
It's so true. I do think that, I mean, and everybody loves Raymond, right? They were like, the in-laws were very overbearing, but
Yeah,
I do think that that's really beautiful to have family so
yeah,
close. I mean,
I
I
do.
never did, and I really could have used it.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, I think, I don't know, maybe with older generations, it was more like that, but I don't know. Like, your mom's so cool, and I think, like, they've got their own stuff going on.
they do.
So, I think it'll be a good balance of having each other
Yeah,
there for support, but not codependent to the point
yeah.
of dysfunction.
Yeah, I do think about certain things like make certain things will be easier. Like, they'll babysit for us, but sometimes we don't like we feel bad if we're out a little too late because even though they have to drive 10, 12 minutes home, it's still like at 10
Right.
o'clock at night, you don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm like, no, Ma, you can just walk across the street. Like you're
Yeah.
good to go. So yeah, certain things will be nice to just have them there. We are those people
Yeah.
that call each other up and are like, "Do you have some celery?" Or like, "Do you have
Oh, I love
we have
that.
frozen peas because in Vermont, going to the store is an event. Like you
Yeah.
it's not like you can just run down to, Stop and Shop. It's like you have to plan out your grocery shopping because we live, decently far from it. So
I
this
love
will be kinda
that.
nice to just be like, "I need some sugar," literally.
Yeah.
Bring some sugar over.
We had one car, when I was young, and my mom didn't drive. I don't remember how old I was when she started driving, but we had to borrow stuff from neighbors, and it connected you, you
Yeah.
know? You'd kinda keep a mental tab, I think, and be like, "Okay, go bring this," like, you'd borrow milk, and then a couple days later, you'd have to go deliver a quart of milk to Mrs. Rooney because you borrowed a cup of it
Yeah.
3 days ago, you know?
Yeah, I
And
have a
it was
friend.
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. I have a mom friend who lives like I could walk to her house, which in my town, like walking to someone's house is like a big deal. I don't live in a
Yeah,
neighborhood, I live out in the
and there's
country,
no sidewalks, it's
no sidewalk.
country roads.
Yeah, so to be able to walk to her house is lovely. And yesterday was a work day for me, and she texted me and she's like, "I'm going to Trader Joe's. Do you need anything?" And I was like, "Absolutely.
Oh.
I need some carrots, dates, and if you could find me some frozen cranberries for a recipe I gotta make, that'd be great." And she was like, "Well, I have some frozen cranberries I can just give you." I'm like, That is lovely. Thank you so much." So
Yes, I love
I
that.
love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Love the coziness and the just, like, being able to call a friend and who lives close by and just be like, "Hey, instead of me going to the store, do you got this thing I need?" And that
yeah,
does feel very old school in a way.
yeah, let's
Being
bring
able
that back.
I know. I
I mean,
totally agree.
like, I know people would think I did lend a lemon to an next door neighbor not too long ago, and that felt good, but I mean, it was a little weird because, like, she texted me and was like, "Can I have a lemon?" And I'm like, "I live almost as far away from you as the supermarket up the street because
Yes.
everything's so close where I live." But I loved it. I was like, "Yeah, I have lemons."
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like we need to bring that back.
I totally
Don't feel
agree.
weird about it. And, then you go to the store and you bring them 2 lemons when it's just like such a nice exchange of goodwill.
Yeah. Or little things in like I feel like this was more of a thing back in our generations, but she then called me and said, she obviously was gonna bring me my food, but she was like, "Can can her 5-year-old?" Yeah, she's same age as my daughter. "Can she jump on your trampoline for a little bit? Like, it's gonna be rainy for the next few days. I'd love to get some energy out." I'm like, "Absolutely jump on our trampoline. Like, please come over
Yeah.
and jump on our trampoline whenever you want if you need to
And
get some
don't sue me if anything happens.
Yeah, and don't sue me. Yeah. Do
We'll just need you to
I
sign this
need a
release.
waiver?
You'll find it online.
Oh, man.
Um,
Yeah, but that just like I grew up mostly in the '90s, but I lived in a neighborhood with a ton of houses, and we were constantly in people's yards without really asking, probably not. It was just
right,
spoken rule that, like, you would run through people's yards, and
right.
we'd bike through people's roads and bike paths and go wherever we wanted. And like that felt really nice. And I'm sure for my mom, that felt really nice to
Yeah,
just let us do that. And so I, again, don't live in an area where I can do that, but I do appreciate just being like, yeah, come use my stuff.
yeah.
Come over here and play. Sure.
I think that's also more rural living too. I think that when you live more out in the country, there's just a little bit more sense of, I mean, maybe not everywhere, but a little more sense of depend depending on each other, maybe, or
Yeah.
being a little more connected. When you live in close proximity and in a place where there are tons of people, somehow in some ways it kind of separates you more.
Yeah. I see that. And when you have access to all the things, like if you can go
Yeah.
to the store, it's like, well, I'm not going to ask a neighbor. I'll just go to the store.
Yeah, I think too when you have land and you have space, then you, like, choose to see people, and and then when you do see them,
It's more intentional.
just randomly, it's kind of a treat, whereas when you have people right next to you, you have to maintain certain boundaries or you all kill each other, you know?
That's fair.
Like, there are
Very
times where I'm like, "This is too close for comfort. I don't need to hear you
very
taking your
fair.
garbage out at 11:30 at
Yeah.
night." But yeah, that's the difference too. It's like, it's just you have to kind of just be like this because there's just too many people around you.
Yeah, I do wonder what motherhood like, had we stayed in New Jersey, like, how different it might have been.
Yeah. Um, I feel like your generation, which is I'm talking about millennials, even though I do feel like you're kind of a baby Gen Xer. I feel like you're honest about motherhood and the challenges, and you seem to lean on each other a little bit more when it comes to just like, need a little mental health break. Can we come over with the kids just to
Yep.
break up the, monotony and stuff? Which, like, I feel like my generation was starting to do that, but you guys really perfected it, and also, we still had residual shame. You're supposed to just be able to handle everything, and you're supposed to just think your kids are fantastic all the time, and mothers just love their kids unconditionally, and that's the end of it, and I feel like we started to be like, "Hey, this is hard. I'm struggling. I might need some help." But you guys really took it over the finish line. This is really freaking hard, and I'm not ashamed to say I need a break.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Going into motherhood, because I don't know, I mean, you can tell me, but I don't know, like, how prominent social media was when your twins were born, but
Facebook came out in 2007, so they were 3,
okay.
and
So you
I
didn't
mean
have the, bombard like,
no,
being
I mean, some
bombarded with
people went at it whole hog. Some people were like, "This is great." I think I personally tend to be more, I don't know, protective is the right word, paranoid maybe, I don't know, but, like, I just didn't I immediately was like, "Oh, I don't know that I want images of my kids on the internet."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I think that when you have access to just internet, social media, all the things that are much more vocal about motherhood, it allows you kinda to see the hard in it, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I think there's for me, I think there's been a real balance between using social media in a way that benefits me to help me feel supported in motherhood, but then also understanding that it absolutely can go the opposite way, where it can make me kind of feel shitty about the way I'm parenting. And so
Yeah.
I remember my mom at one point saying, I don't even know what we were talking about, but and to be fair, I think when you're out of the young motherhood years, you kind of forget about maybe the hardness of it. But I do remember her saying one time, I don't remember it being this hard, right? Like when I was talking about something relating to motherhood. And I think partly that's just because now she's a grandma and she's getting the good sides of things. But also, I think it was
Mhm.
because there was less in your face about what you should be doing or doing right or doing wrong or don't yell at your kids or, make sure you're doing this, da, da, da. And I think for us as millennials, we elder, younger millennials, we've just been bombarded with so much information and so much parenting blogs and parenting accounts and looking at stories on Instagram and all the things that I think one, yes, it's made us much more aware of like how hard parenting can be and how hard motherhood can be and like honoring that, but then also putting us in a place where it's like, "Oh, shit, like, how much am I fucking up?" Like, how much am
Yeah,
I.
competitive motherhood in some
Yeah,
ways, you know?
yes.
Where
So
it's
I've
like, "Oh,
had.
I'm not making the special snacks that are star-shaped
Right.
in the," you wouldn't even be aware of that in your mom's
Yeah.
generation. It's like, "Whatever, this is fine."
Yeah. So I think in a positive light is, as you said, it's allowed us to be much more open
Yeah.
about motherhood and not just fall into this, "Oh, I have to do it all. I have to be, the end all be all for my kid and make the snacks and do the things." And it's allowed us to kind of stop doing that, but it's also I think it's put a lot more pressure on us to be kind of a certain way, maybe.
Yeah.
Or to like break. I'm a mental health therapist. I 1000% support the idea of breaking generational trauma. Don't get me wrong, absolutely. And also, I think there is like the pendulum has swung pretty far where it's like, well, if you yell at your kid, you're absolutely screwing them up. And it's like, well, no.
No.
Like,
No.
no,
No.
no. You can have
That's
a dysregulated
fine.
moment and yell and then repair, and your kid's going to
And
be fine.
sometimes they need to be yelled at, you know?
1000%.
And
Like,
I've had this conversation, like, I've talked through it with my kids at times where they're like, "You don't need to yell." I'm like, "I said it 3 times in a normal tone, and that didn't seem to work, so if you don't want me to yell, do it the first time."
yeah, I've had that conversation of so many times I've stopped counting
Yeah,
because it's true. And also there needs to be some understanding of there are consequences to your behavior.
yeah, and
There are
limits.
there are
To
limits and there are effects that you have on people. And
Right.
when you blatantly ignore people's requests, nice requests, like there's a consequence to that.
Yeah.
I tell my son all the time, like, if your boss, like when you're out working in the world, if your boss has asked you 6 times to do something and you don't do it,
You just get fired.
you don't have a job anymore. Like, they're not
Exactly.
just gonna keep
You're not
asking
doing
this.
the job, so you don't have a job.
You
Yeah.
don't have a job.
Yeah.
So, I've had to be really intentional with understanding and vocalizing that motherhood is hard to, like, the appropriate people, but then also being really intentional about what I intake, in terms of social media or reading up on parenting books or whatever, because I don't it's not as black and white as some people try to make it seem.
Right. And and can get very extreme as well. And I will say that when I was trying to get pregnant and then was pregnant and a new mother, I took in way too much and things that I shouldn't have and
Yeah.
internalized things that, like having a birth plan and like having this,
Mhm.
it's like there's this whole, and I maybe it's just because I'm out of that, part of my life. But it feels like, and I'm hoping this is true, that that has eased up. But in the early 2000s, there was a real hard push for no medical intervention and having a certain kind of birth and a perfect kind of birth. And I feel like celebrities and their pregnancies were front and center. And so a lot of women were comparing themselves to and trying to emulate these perfect scenarios. And do you watch The Pit at all?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Love it.
So, are
Yeah,
you up to
are you
date? Like, have
yes, are you
you
talking
yeah,
about
and I don't wanna
mom?
spoil for anyone because it's still pretty new, but I texted a friend of mine, I'm like, "Are they just going through my medical chart for stories?" Because like, one week it was a kid who was having an asthma attack who then had a collapsed lung,
I
who
did
then
think
they
of
were
you
gonna
on that episode.
intubate. They ended up not, for me, they did, but, like, that was a rough one to get through because I was like, "Oh," like, seeing it from the outside, and then there was a pregnant woman who was like, "I'm gonna have a wild birth,"
I
which
literally
I gotta
said
tell you, I wasn't that, you know, impractical, but I was trying to have, like, as little intervention as possible, and everything she went through was what I went through. Again, I don't wanna spoil it, but, like, it's like, yeah, that
yeah.
no.
I'm really grateful that well, to answer your question, I do think there is still some of that depending on where you live. So obviously, like I live in Vermont. There's a lot of people who fall a little bit more on the, granola side, for lack of a better word, who do
Right,
want
and that's
like which
fine, yeah.
is fair. Like, I
Mhm.
know a lot of moms who have had doulas and home births or water
Right.
births, whatever.
Yeah,
And if that works for you, great. So I think there's depending on just the person, there might be a little bit more still that preference. But I
right.
am really grateful that my OB in New Jersey when I had my son was anytime I said the word birth plan, which I don't think I really had a plan. I think I was just like trying to subscribe to something like ideally
Mhm.
this is what I want to have happen. And he was like, he kept saying he would change it to birth preference every time I said plan. He's like, preference, it's a preference.
I love that.
Yeah. And he was like an older OB in his 60s, like,
He's
um,
seen it all and
yeah.
every
So
wave
he
of,
just kept
like,
being like, it's not gonna be a
trend.
plan. It's
Yeah,
it's your preference. So,
yeah.
like,
Let's
if
see what
that
happens.
happens, great, and if not, then that's gonna be okay too. Like, the goal here is to get you through it and to get the baby through it all healthy and happy.
Exactly.
And I was like, "Okay." So he really curbed my need for some form of a plan, and then by the time I was having my daughter, I was like, I literally don't care." Like, just
Right.
I do not care.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like,
Just
I don't
figure it
know
out.
what it felt like for you, but for me, there was a lot of prenatal yoga
Yeah.
and that was like a social scene, and then baby and mommy and me yoga, and, like, I don't know, all this stuff that felt trendy, and if you weren't doing it, maybe you weren't succeeding as a
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah, I did some of that in New Jersey with my son. Partially not I don't think I felt the need to do it, but it just was something to do. Get out of the house and, be with other moms, and so I appreciated it in that regard, and then I had a COVID baby. So a COVID baby, there was literally nothing I could do with her, and I think I'm really grateful that my second was my COVID baby because
Yeah.
had it been my first, I I don't know if I would have handled it as well, but being
Shout
that
out to those moms.
Oh my gosh, I have a friend who lives in New York City who literally gave birth to her first on, like, March 25th or something, and she went into her one of her last appointments, like, near his due date, and it was obviously this was March of 2020. And, the doctor was like, "You need to decide now if you want us to induce you because, like, tomorrow, your husband, like, literally might not be able to come into this room with."
Wow.
So she took a long walk around wherever she lives in New York City, trying to figure out what the hell she was gonna do, and her
Yeah.
and her water broke. So
Oh
her
my
and I
God, divine intervention. Holy
let's
mackerel.
go, and so they, like, went
Wow.
and had him, and then literally the next day walked home to their apartment and then just, like, hunkered down with the newborn, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, that
God.
sounds so stressful."
So scary.
So
Yeah.
even though I didn't have a lot of access to things to do with my daughter, how old was my son was, like, 3.5 when she was born, so, you know it just was like my world whatever he was kind of doing, the newborn was coming along with. So,
Yeah.
I felt like even though she was a COVID baby and there was, like, no access, there was, like, nothing I could do with her, it didn't feel as hard as it probably could have been,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. I'm very grateful
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, but the support of other moms in activities like that, whatever it might be, you didn't really have in those early days, being having it be like lockdown and COVID, like having other moms be like, "It's hard, right?" Or, "You're doing a good job," like those kind of things. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we had to, like, really rely on just like, reaching out via text or I mean, by the time my
Yeah.
daughter was born, it was we were able to go out, and I think here in Vermont, we felt a little less I mean, obviously, COVID was here, but we felt I don't know, just because there's less people, we just felt a little
Oh, yeah, that's
safer in a
true.
weird way, like, mentally.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, "Well, I guess it's less likely." I mean, I still am
Yeah, yeah,
getting it,
yeah, that's
but
true.
so we have land, we have space, we have, outdoor it was
Right,
easy to
so you
go for
could
a walk. It
be
was
out
right.
and
And
do things just
yeah, so there
together.
was ways that we could still connect that felt safe enough where it didn't
Yeah.
feel like we were completely deprived of social interaction with other moms. But yeah, I mean, having a 2.5-year-old when it first started who, gets sent home from daycare and you have no like, you still have to I still had to work, my husband still had to work. We thank God we never quarantined for my mother, so she would, like, help watch him, but,
Yeah.
there were times where we were like, yeah, we're just gonna have to, like, work around this 2.5-year-old who decided to stop napping, like, right when COVID hit." Oh, like,
As they do.
I was like, "Honey, this
My
is
god.
not the time to drop your nap." But thank you so much for doing that. I would love to spend more time with you.
Those moments, right, are seared in your memory of when you start losing naps and it's like, "What is going on?" Like, you
Yeah.
have these moments in the day where you can just gather yourself, and then suddenly, it's like 3 naps, then 2 naps, then 1 nap, and then no naps, and you're like, What? I'm supposed
Going
to just do this all day long?"
Yeah, going to the 0 naps, but it's also funny because now my brother and sister-in-law, who live right down the street, they have a 4 so similar ages to what I did, but they have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my mom had them over the weekend because they were away, and she was commenting something about my niece, the younger one, the 1-year-old, like, going from she's like, "Oh, I think she's a little young to go down to 1 nap," and now that I have an 8.5-year-old and a 5-year-old who haven't napped in years, I'm like, I don't even know what the nap schedule is supposed to be at what like, I'm so far out of that I'm like, I completely forgot all that information that I needed to know about good sleep schedules. I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
See how quickly you lose it? Like you were saying about
Oh,
your mom.
yes.
Yeah, like you were saying about your mom not remembering that it was hard or whatever. I think that's nature's way of making us wanna procreate, because I think otherwise we'd have one and be like, "I am never doing this
Never
again."
doing this again. I'm not and if you I mean, I'm sure all parents have some level of remembering that it was hard, but I really do think they forget majority of it. Because yes, I you you most likely would not encourage sounds horrible.
No, I
You most likely
what
would not
what
encourage
if
people to do it.
yeah.
If
No,
you
that's the truth.
Yeah, if you really acknowledged, like, how hard it is, and sometimes when I go to a baby shower, when I know, like, someone's about to have a kid.
Someone's at the top of the roller coaster and you're like, "Woo, strap
Yeah.
in."
And I don't wanna be totally ruthless
Negative.
about and
Yeah.
negative about it because absolutely acknowledging that it's wonderful in so many ways, but I have to pull back a little bit. You know how they're always like, "Give
Yes.
advice." Like, "What's your advice for the new mom?" And my advice is my partly from learning through my own journey, but also as a therapist, I tell every new mother and their partner if they're at the baby shower, but I say, "You need to get really good at emotional regulation. You need to figure out how to best support yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed and dysregulated. If you
Yes, that's
that,
such good advice.
if you can figure out what that is, then you'll be okay."
And support. Like, my advice is always have support in place, whatever that looks like for you. And reach out, reach out, reach out, ask for help.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think one of the big differences between Gen X parenting, and you can attest to this as the more Gen Xer, but I think the biggest difference now is, and I'm sure there was some level of this thr throughout the years, but I feel like now there's this big push on mothers to, like, enjoy every moment
Yeah.
and, like, soak it up because, and I get that all older people kinda say that to younger people, but that messaging, I think, has wildly done a disservice to mothers over the years because it just sends this message that if you're not enjoying it, you're messing up.
Yes.
Which, like, let's be honest, 85% of it you're not enjoying. Like, last night at 8 p.m. when my daughter's overtired and she's screaming at me because she doesn't wanna go to bed, but, like, I know she needs to go to bed, like, I'm not enjoying that.
Not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable.
It's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Or when she's fighting me for the 15th time this week about eating some dinner I made, like, it's
That's
not
not
enjoyable.
enjoyable.
Not
And
enjoyable.
that's what your generation does best is not pretend that it is.
Yeah, I think we do a really, really good job of acknowledging that, and I say this to my kids, I say this to my clients all the time, but, like, 2 things are true here. Like, I love my kids wholeheartedly. I would never, ever, ever not want them. I wanted to be a mother since the day I probably walked out of my own mother. I know that, right? I knew that this was a big part of my life, and not but, and there are a lot of times that I need to get away from them, and that's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And that mothers are not an unending fountain of love and patience, that we're just human
Yeah.
and we also need space and rest.
Yeah. I actually, like, I get for lack of a better word, like, defriended a friend in real life because she continued to essentially push that messaging, like, every time there was, and it was like a group of us who would, like, on a group chat or whatever, but, like, would hang out, and anytime any one of us would, like, voice some type of something that was a struggle, sh
Mhm.
she would come back with that, like, "Oh, well,
Like
they're only."
weaponized positivity.
Yes, like toxic positivity, and
The
I finally
worst.
worst. I finally called her out on it and was like, "Listen, I if I reacted to my clients the way that you're reacting to us as mothers, I would have no clients. Like, if as a therapist, they're saying telling me something hard about their kids, and I was like, "Well, they're only gonna be little once, enjoy it now." Like,
Yep.
they'd be like, "Peace out."
Yeah.
And so, because I pushed back on that, she didn't like it, and I was like, "I don't think we can be friends anymore."
Good.
Yeah,
No,
because
and that's I think I don't know any mother who hasn't had one or more
experiences like that with another mother it may not be their conscious intention, but they're shaming, negating, and gaslighting you.
Yes. 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 And it's also just disingenuous because I know for a fact I've
Yeah.
seen you not enjoy your children on the plate, which
I
is,
love that. I love
yeah,
that you like have that clarity and it doesn't for a second. Because I'll tell you, for me, it really did make me feel shaky. I love that you're so solidly just like, I'm calling bullshit.
1000%. I've seen you yell at your children, which rightfully so for what they were doing, but please do not tell me that you're enjoying them every moment of
Right.
your lives.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that, one thing that millennials have done better is just acknowledging the hard and voicing that, because that's the thing, like, I partly, again, probably because I'm a therapist, but it's also just who I've always been, is that, like, that's my form of coping. Like, I need to tell a friend, like, "Hey, my kid's being a little shit right now, and I want to run away to Costa Rica." I'm
Right.
not gonna do it. This urge will
For
go
me, you
away.
were that friend.
Say it again?
I said, for me, you were that
Yeah,
friend.
it was. Yeah, like, I think that's, like, very important to have friends that you can say that to and not have them come back with some toxic positivity bullshit, but and, like, validate that,
Yes.
and then know that, like, you're still a loving, caring mother that
Yeah.
wants to still be with her children, just
Right.
not.
The duality of motherhood
Yeah,
is real and needs to be acknowledged like at all times.
yeah.
I remember when we all had the flu. They were infants. I was still nursing.
I think you've told
I
me this
couldn't take
story, but yeah.
anything. And I was getting into my car in the CVS parking lot and I went to get tissues or something. And this friend who is very much guilty of that saw me. And I mean, I had the full on flu. Like I must have looked like who did it and ran. And she was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "I have the flu. Babies have the flu." And she was like, "That's so great." I was like,
No.
and she was like, "Your immune systems are getting stronger." And I was like, if I had any strength or energy left, which I don't because I'm like a dish rag, I would
I would slap
strangle you
you.
with my bare hands. Like,
Yes.
nursing, having 102 fever and nursing 2 infants with 102 fever as well, so it's
No,
like 2 hot rocks on your body while
no.
you are feverish,
That
is
sounds
like
like,
the ninth
yeah.
circle of hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have wanted to slap her. I would have absolutely wanted to slap
Like,
her.
can't put a happy face on this one, it just
No.
sucks.
No.
And I will say back to what you were saying about enjoy every moment. It's funny, like, for some reason, a lot of those moments came while I was grocery shopping. There would be older mothers that would see me, and I guess with twins, you just kind of stand out and
Yeah.
people tend to comment more, but, I remember, like, a few times, older women coming up and being like, "Enjoy it," and, enjoy and I'd have, like, one kid in the sitting thing, one kid I mean, in a bucket, like, on the top where you put a baby, and let their legs go through, and then the other one inside the cart, and then I was just trying to, like, fit, like, cans and cartons around the one that was inside the cart, and, um, that's why Co once they can sit up, Costco's so great because they have
Yes.
a double seat. They're the only ones that have a
No.
double seat, otherwise,
So
twin
great.
moms are really screwed, but, I remember just being so tired and older moms coming up to me in the grocery store and being like, "Enjoy it. This is the best time." Like, if this is the best time, I g
What?
I gotta go.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've asked you this too before, but my mother has very much validated this. But so I've been a mother for 8.5 years. And if I think about it, like, it does feel like it went fast in some capacity, but it also feels like 20 years have gone by. Like, if I
Yes.
really think about my son as a baby, like, it feels so far away from
Yeah.
where we are now. And so I think when he's now, like, barely have to bend my head to kiss the top of his head. So, like, when I think about it in that terms, like, oh my gosh, like, you at one point could walk under this countertop, and now
Yeah.
you're almost at my chin. So if I think about it in that way, but then if I like really think about like his 8.5 years or my daughter's 5 years, like it feels like 20. And I've asked my
Yeah.
mom, I'm like, does it feel like yesterday? I'm 40. Does it feel like yesterday that I was a baby? And she's like, absolutely not. Like it feels like forever. And so
Yeah.
like when we say that to parents, it's just
Yeah,
like,
like it was the blink of an eye. It's a blink of an eye that they, I can't believe they're graduating. I'm like, a blink of an eye. It feels like
feels like I
a
went through war.
century of digging and clawing.
Right, and so I think we need to get away from, like, those sayings to parents
Yeah.
because then it like, I don't know for you, but for me, it sends me into this panic of, "Oh, I've worked really hard to, like, not go into that panic mode, but, like, I gotta snuggle her a little bit longer, and I gotta lay for bedtime because, she's not gonna want me to lay with her for bedtime all the time, but that's laying with for bedtime is also how I got lice from her last week, so
Oh my God. I wasn't sure if we were gonna get into that or not, but again,
I mean,
thank God for Mother's Day and that, there's gonna be at least some acknowledgement because on top of everything else that's hard about motherhood, lice.
Yeah, which no one I mean, school-age children or school-age parents of school-age children will tell you about it, but, like, when you have a baby, no one warns you about the lice situation
No, this is like
ever.
a rite of passage that's gonna happen.
Right. I had to remind myself that we are not dying of cancer. We are fine. We are physically fine, but it was one of the most overwhelming experiences of my parenting journey thus far to deal with the lice situation.
Yeah. And
So
it's so commonplace and people older mothers don't really tell younger mothers, like, this is going to happen. And I don't know if that's a kindness or withholding information, but
yeah.
acting like this is fine and normal, like, what the
Oh my god. I remember you putting your daughter's hair up in buns and, like, aggressively spraying it when she
my
was
daughter literally
7, 8,
somebody
9.
had lights, like, in September or October of, maybe her kid, first, second grade? Maybe second grade.
I was around.
And I put her hair in 2, like, Princess Leia buns every single day of every school day for the entire year. And people would
Yep.
make fun of me and be like, "Why don't you let her wear her hair down?" And sometimes she'd be like, "Mom, can I?" I'm like, "No,
Did you
no,
ever did you ever get lice?
nope." We were literally the only family
So
that
jealous
didn't
right now.
get lice that year. The only one.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't care. You're wearing your hair like this every day, and I'm spraying the shit out of it."
Yeah. In the last week or so, my head is thinking it's like COVID. You know how when you get COVID, you have, like, a couple
By
months
the
of
way, I'm like, this
no,
is now what I'm scratching my head
pathological
because
itching.
anytime anybody mentions lice,
I
I
know.
suddenly am like, "I have lice."
Well, I keep thinking it's like COVID where, like, we're immune for a few months, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that's not how this works." She
Nope.
can get it again.
She's you
I
gotta
know.
plant those buns on her head and spray
No.
with rosemary spray and
I
or hairspray.
I have sprayed. She just hates having her hair up, but
So did
so did
my daughter, but, tough nuts because
I'm not doing
no.
this
I
again.
was like, "I'll tell you, there were some real struggles." Where she was, like, begging me to let her wear it down, and I was
Yeah.
like, "I will die on this hill. No."
This makes me almost want to write a parenting book about all the things that, like, no one warns you about. But then
Yeah.
I feel like if non-mothered women read it,
And be like, "Peace out."
they might not do it.
Which is fine, go in with your eyes open.
Oh, fine.
I had
That's
a friend who was kind of never wanted to have kids and then got married, and then their relationship was kind of floundering, and she called me and she was like, "Maybe we should have a child." And I said, "There is no one in the world that wanted or fought to have kids harder than me. And I am telling you, if you're not in it to win it,
Mm,
no,
do it.
because I wanted them more than anything, and there are days when I am on my knees.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the truth."
Yeah, they're not kidding when they say it is the hardest job you will
Yeah,
ever
and
do.
it's relentless. I spoke to You're an autism specialist as well. I spoke to Dr. Teresa Lyons, who's an autism scientist, a few weeks ago, and we talked about parenting a child on the spectrum and how it's like extreme parenting and how you have to sometimes just go in the bathroom and cry or
Mhm.
go in your like lock yourself in your closet. And that is true of parenting neurotypical kids as well. Sometimes it's like
Mhm.
you got to let that release valve out somehow, because the thing is you can't just be like, "I'm having a hard day, I'm leaving." Like,
Right.
I'm gonna go take a walk around the block when you have young children. No, you're just here. You cannot leave them. You can't get away from them. You have
Yeah.
to stay here, and there's no break.
Yeah. I learned recently about my grandmother who she passed away maybe 4 years ago, but after her death, my mom or maybe my aunt, but someone told me a story about her. She had 5 kids very quickly, the last being surprise twins, like, on the table giving birth to my uncle and them saying, "You need to lay down, there's another one coming." And she was like, "I'm sorry,
Oh my
what?" And
god.
then it was like 1960, they left them, and you'll appreciate this as a mother of twins, they left them in the hospital for, like, 5 days, because you could do that back then, to go home and prepare their house for 2 babies because they
Wow.
thought they were only getting 1, and they had 3 kids already at home.
Wow.
But yeah, so 5 kids in like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And growing up with her, I thought she was like the epitome of like the most loving, doting, amazing Italian grandmother. But someone
Yeah.
told me that she would literally pack a bag and leave. And I don't know where she would go, but she would like leave for a night. She'd be like, "I'm out," because she was so overwhelmed. And I like before being a
I
mother,
love that.
I would have been like horrified by that. But now as a mother, I'm like, "Oh, grandma
Yes.
totally
Yes.
understand."
Oh my
And like
gosh.
it made me appreciate her even more that
Yes.
and my aunt would talks about how she'd be like at the door crying, thinking her mother's never gonna come back. So little
Aw.
traumatic,
But she
but
did.
she did. She always came back,
And she came back more patient,
yes, but
more no.
the fact that she did that, I was just, "Oh, okay." It just not that I didn't have her normalized as a mother, but it just normalized that need sometimes and desire a lot of times to just be like, "I gotta get out for a hot sec." I mean, I would recommend doing it in a way that doesn't traumatize your kids, but still
But
acknowledging that there's that desire.
if she didn't, what kind of trauma would have happened?
That's true. That
You
is
know,
very
one time my daughter, I think you know the story, but I was holding her. She was having a tantrum, as she did for a very long time. This was not a 2-year-old tantrum. This was like a 5-year-old tantrum.
Oh, my
And
daughter was having one last night at 5, so I get it.
I picked her up. She was on my hip. She might have been littler. She might have been like 4. And she hauled off with a closed fist and punched me in the face so hard, and I was home by myself with them, but I was holding her and she punched me so hard she almost knocked me out. Like I
Was
wobbled, and the only thing that kept me upright is I can't land on my kid.
yeah.
And it was like sheer will to stay vertical. And I brought her upstairs and I put her in her room and I was like, "You have got to be away from me."
Or
And yeah, and I
something bad
put
might
her in
happen.
a room and I just took off my clothes and got in the shower and just stood there and let the water run on my head because
Yeah,
I'm like, "I need a moment."
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just let water run on my head, and then I was ready to go back in for round 2, but
Yeah.
there are those moments where your kid almost knocks you unconscious that
Yeah.
you're like, "I'm gonna need a minute."
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right in that Gen X started to be more aware of the need for emotional regulation. But I do think millennials now, there's a much, much higher awareness of dysregulation and the need to figure out how to regulate yourself so you can go back in for round 2. And you or I, neither generation was taught that as a child at all. Like
No.
we had no idea how to do that as a child. So now we're figuring it at 40 and above how to do it
Right.
while parenting. But I think that millennials now, because we just have much more awareness and much more knowledge of like what that feels like in our bodies and like how to express that outwardly, like we're doing hopefully, at least I hope I am doing a better job of like teaching that to our kids.
Yeah.
But also vocalizing it to them because I think there are some version of mothers that are like, oh, well, I just need to stay super regulated all the time or try to stay all the time so I can be this like loving, doting mom all the time. Right. And don't maybe vocalize their dysregulation when that's happening, which I don't think that's helpful. So I
No.
think when you have a mother like myself and like a lot of moms that I see who just like voice what's going on to their kids so that they're learning through modeling, they're learning through osmosis. And like last night, for example, again, my daughter was having the tantrum about going to bed. My husband was trying to deal with that because shockingly, she chose daddy to put her to bed and not me. And I was like, cool, go for it. I'll go down and hang out with the calm 8-year-old. And so my son was sitting on the couch and he said to me, Mommy, I know that you're dysregulated right now. I see that. But could I have an orange? And I was like, the fact that he said the words, I can see that you're dysregulated now. Like, not that I'm relying on him to regulate me, because obviously it's my responsibility, but him acknowledging that and validating that in that moment helped regulate me a little bit. Because it was like,
You were
thank,
really seen.
yes. I was like, thank you for seeing that and saying that. That is so kind that you're noticing that mommy's feeling that way right now. And you know why. Like, you knew exactly why I was dysregulated. And yeah, you can have an orange. Let's get you an orange.
Hot
and, I,
diggity, let's have 2.
and I explained that to him that was helped me regulate a little bit more, just the validation of acknowledging like what was happening in the moment for me. And then, like, he had a meltdown earlier in the day, so we had, like, related it back to that, and I was like, "Remember when you were really feeling really sad, and mommy said that? Like, mommy just acknowledged, like, why you were feeling sad?" And he was like, "Yeah, that did make me feel better." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
yes." So I think it's like this, like, you're not trying to just, like, get these negative feelings away because like, that's not gonna happen. You just need to call them out, and I think millennials are doing a little bit better job of that, of honoring that for themselves,
Yes.
um, and voicing that outwardly to their kids, not to hold their kids responsible for their emotions, but just to be like, "Hey, I'm a human too, and these experiences are affecting me in this way, and here's what I'm gonna do about it, but also, like, here's something you maybe could do about it." Like, listen.
Yes. I mean, honestly, that is solving so many problems of marriages, families, parent-child relationships, because when I had Kimmy Berlin on
I
and we were
know.
talking about teaching
Yep,
boys how to
1000%.
regulate and how to feel all their feelings and to continue to hold on to that range of feelings as they get older, you're teaching your kids that same thing, but you're also teaching them that you're not like this archetype of the mother being infallible, being just an unending fountain of love and patience has to stop. It has to
Yeah,
end. We're just
1000%.
humans like
Yep,
everyone else. And yes, do we love our kids to the ends of the earth? Do we protect them no matter what? Yes. That's what good mothers do.
But we're kids get dysregulated, moms get dysregulated, dads get dysregulated, and I think that this wave of gray divorce that's happening now with Gen Xers is because of the fact that what you're doing right now, what you just described, never happened.
Never. Yeah.
It was everything's foisted like women are supposed to work and they're also supposed to do everything around the house and they're also supposed to raise the kids with a smile on their face and love every minute of it and enjoy every minute of it and
Mhm.
savor it. And also this thing of that hopefully won't be a thing when your kids are graduating high school or in high school or going to college. This thing of two things. One, you're only as happy as your least happy child, I think is the
Mhm.
adage, which I'm like, that no. Of course, we feel for our kids, but like you can't. That's called codependence.
Yeah.
Um, and two, like this sense of like, yes, you feel a sense of loss when your kid is growing up and going away to college or whatever they choose to do, right? But they're kind of starting to leave the nest and stuff. That is, everyone's like, "Oh, mom, this must be
What are you gonna
terrible
do
for
now?
you. What are you gonna do?" It's like, this is I won the game. This was the this was the goal, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's can we be
Raise
happy about that?
them.
And yes, of course, both those things can exist. You feel a little bit
Yeah.
sad, you feel sentimental, you feel whatever, but, like, wasn't this the goal the whole time?
Yeah. I know. I do remember asking you when my kids were younger about if you like missed those baby years or those toddler years with your kids. And I know the first 4 years with twins were like
A blur.
a blur. But the advice you gave me or what you told me was that you were always excited to see who they were becoming, or you were always excited to see, like, the next phase, and, like, yes, there is always gonna be some level of recognizing now that I have a five-year-old, like, I'm never gonna have another squishy little baby to, like, cuddle with, right? And, like, part of that is sad, but then if I
Right,
think about pregnancy, breastfeeding, birth, all the things, I'm like, "No, thank you, I'm good." So part of that is sad, but I've held on to that as they've gotten older, like what you said, of just, like, acknowledging there's still this, like, really cool person that I get to see and watch become, become another a human being, a different version of
yeah.
their human being. So, I've held on to that when I get, you know, too not too sad, but when I go down the, like, "Oh, they're not babies anymore,"
Sentiment
road.
yeah,
Yeah, and being very sentimental and nostalgic. I'm like, "Okay, that's true," and there's still a lot of excitement of, like, who they're becoming or just who they are right now.
right.
Like, they're pretty fun and pretty cool right now. They're also
Yeah,
very frustrating and exhausting right now, but that's okay too. 2 things are
right.
true. They exist all at the same time.
Yeah, and there are new things that they're going to show you, like, you don't even know yet. Like, my youngest, who had a very difficult time regulating for a very long
Yep.
time, and it was really, really, really challenging, and because of that, he couldn't be himself. And so he couldn't access the other parts of himself because he was so hijacked all the time. So a couple of weeks ago, he comes to me and very matter of factly hands me this painting and this little canvas, like, with wood, like one of those stretched little canvases that you can buy. And he's like, "Oh, I made this for you." And he hands it to me and he walks away. And I look at it and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
it's a
Oh
self portrait and it is so good.
gosh, I
I'm
want
like,
this.
"You made this?" And he's like, "Yeah." And, like, he starts to walk downstairs. I'm like, "Oh my god, like, do you want to take art classes?" He's like, "No." And he's like, "On to the next thing." But, like, he has this gift that I never knew about. And it's funny because when he was young, I bought him an easel and I bought him paints in the hopes that he could express some of his negative emotions that way.
Yeah.
And when he would, which was very rarely, he used only red and black, and he would just, like, mash them
Yeah.
around or draw, like, really angry faces, but, like, that was it. And, art wasn't very interesting to him, and so that was kind of the end of that. And then all of a sudden, this comes along. It's like they
Oh,
just they're growing and becoming, and it's so exciting and surprising and amazing to see who's in there and what
yeah.
facet is gonna come out next, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I just I feel like for this Mother's Day, we just need to remember to high five each other
Yes.
and to be supportive and be each other's cheerleaders and really see each other the way
Yeah.
your son saw you.
Well, and I think, like, I told you this story a couple days ago, but instead of the enjoy every moment, they're only little ones, I do think we should shift into this just complimenting or acknowledging people out in the world, like, when they're in the younger years of motherhood. Like, I told you the story of the older woman. We were at a winery, and my kids were coloring, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh, I just want to say, like, you're doing such a good job. I love seeing young kids coloring and, like, just enjoying their family at this winery." And she did mention, like, "I love that they're not, like, just in front of a screen, right? That you didn't just give them an iPad or a phone. Like, you're doing such a great job." And let me preface, I am not an anti-screen person. My son probably watched 3 hours of TV the other day when we were both working after school, so, like, I use screens, don't get me wrong, but I have made a point to be the parent that tries to not use them at restaurants or out in the world, just because I want my kid, mostly because I want my kids just to have the skills to be able to sit at a restaurant and talk and enjoy their family, but also partially just because I just don't love that look. So,
Mhm.
screens all day at home, but, like, try not to do them out in the world. But for her to come up to me and acknowledge that in that moment and say, like, "You're doing a good job, I'm proud of you," like, it felt so good coming from a stranger. And so, like, I sometimes don't always do it as much as I should, but there are times I'm in Trader Joe's or wherever, and I see a mom with, like, 4 little kids, and I'll just be like, "Hey, you're doing a good job today. Like, you're doing a good job." Something,
Aw.
because I think that means so much more than just like, "Hey, try to enjoy it."
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the acknowledgement of, like, "Hey, I see you. I get how hard this is, and, like, you're killing it. You're doing it."
Yes.
And I think I agree with you. I think for this Mother's Day and all Mother's Day after, we should try to shift into that mentality when
Yeah.
we see
Lift
others
each
out in
other
the
up.
world.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love that.
And it does, it means so much the times that I was struggling and another mom said, "You got this. You're doing great." It really could bring me to tears, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's
it gives
very
you that
powerful.
little extra oomph to be like, "Okay, as hard
Yes.
as it is, I do got this. Like, I will be
Yes.
okay, and I can do it,
And,
even through
and
the hard."
also that someone sees this is hard,
Yeah.
you know? That you're not, because it does feel sometimes like, you're not doing a good job or you're failing or you're falling short in some way, like when you can't get your kid to school on time because they're having tantrums every morning. It doesn't feel great, you know?
No, it doesn't.
So, yeah, for us all to be like, "Great job getting there
I
at
know.
all," you know?
No.
Like,
Great job
really.
for doing the hard thing.
Exactly.
Well, and
Exactly.
I say to my kids all the time, like, "We can do hard things. We can do hard things," right? You can do hard things when they're struggling with something. And then
Yep.
I'm like, "Oh god, I gotta remind myself of that." Like,
Yes, we
I'm doing
all need
the hard thing.
reminders.
I
Yes.
I'm doing the hard thing, which is raising them.
Yep, and sometimes you gotta stop for a second and give yourself a little pat on the back and acknowledge that, like, "This is really hard and I'm doing it."
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's
I
way
think
harder
that's the message for this Mother's Day and every Mother's Day going
every
forward is
Mother's
you're
Day.
doing the hard thing.
You're doing the hard thing, and you can do the hard thing, and you're gonna
Yep,
be okay.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's going to be not so great, and other times it's going to be wonderful. And that's okay.
that is the truth. And to just be real and keep it real and feel all the feelings because there are a lot that exist all at once in motherhood. And they're all valid. And none of them should be quashed or make you feel ashamed. They're
Nope.
all valid.
Yeah. I support that wholeheartedly as a mother and as a therapist and as an
Yeah.
aging woman trying to figure it out.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This is so fun.
Course.
So
It
great
was
to see your
so
face.
fun to talk with you. And, as the woman who helped me, become a mom in my 30s and helps me along
Oh,
the way, it's been really nice to talk to you about this and to learn from you and to all the mothers, that are in our world, in our little worlds.
yeah, absolutely. Well, happy Mother's Day to
Happy
you.
Mother's Day to you and happy Mother's Day to all your listeners.
All right, that's it for us. See you
Okay.
soon.
Bye.
Bye. If you like the show, please rate, review, and share on social media. Strangers with Kittens contains nothing artificial. It's certified human. Produced by Ashley Aker, music by Chris Hagian, and recorded in front of a live audience of dogs.